All right, today we are tackling something massive. We're going to try and build a modern working map of a human life. To do this, we're pulling together some of the biggest ideas from psychology, sociology, and even biology to get a real handle on this incredible, sometimes messy, but always amazing journey that we're all on. So let's dive right in.
So this is it. This is the big question that's underneath everything else. How do we actually become the person we are? Is it all about the choices you make, the society you grew up in, or is it just the biological cards you were dealt? Now, the easy answer is, yeah, it's a bit of all three. But the real answer, the part that's actually interesting, is in how these powerful forces get all tangled up together to create you.
So here's our roadmap for today. First, we're going to clear out some of the old, kind of clunky models of life. Then we'll bring in the two key pieces for our new map, the engine that drives us and the road we travel on. We'll see how a simple cube, of all things, helps us see all this complexity. Then we'll put ourselves in the driver's seat and even explore how this whole journey literally gets under our skin. And then at the end, we'll put it all together into one big, integrated picture. Okay, so to build a better map, we've got to understand why the old ones just don't work anymore. You know, the first attempts to chart a human life were, well, they were a lot simpler and honestly a lot more pessimistic than what we know today. I mean, think about it. This old life stage idea saw life as the super predictable, straight line. You explore when you're young, you establish yourself, and then you just decline. That's it. It's neat, it's tidy, but it's just wrong. It completely misses the chaotic, surprising, and beautiful reality of how our lives actually play out. We now know that growth and change and learning, that stuff happens at every single age, and it goes in every direction. So if that old model is out, what do we replace it with? Well, our modern understanding really comes down to two huge perspectives, one from psychology and one from sociology. And the absolute best way to think about them is as the two things you need for any trip, a powerful engine and a really good map. First up, we've got the lifespan perspective, which comes to us from psychology. This is our engine. It's all about our inner world. The big idea here is that development isn't just for kids. Nope, it is a continuous, lifelong process that's always humming along inside each of us, right from conception to our very last day. And what's fueling this engine? A few key principles. First, development is lifelong. It doesn't just stop. Second, it's multi-directional, which means at any point in your life, you're gaining some things and, yeah, losing others. It's a trade-off. It's also shaped by this constant mix of your biology, the historical moment you live in, and your own choices. And maybe most importantly, it believes in plasticity, this incredible idea that you always have the capacity to change. But an engine, no matter how powerful, is kind of useless without a world to drive through, right? That is where we get our map. This is the life course perspective from sociology. It zooms way out to look at all the external stuff, the society you're in, the time and history, the social structures, all the things that create the roads and the roadblocks of our lives. So this perspective, this map, it shows us that your life's journey is profoundly shaped by when and where you were born. The timing of big life events is huge. Having a kid at 20 versus 40 creates two totally different life paths. Our lives are all linked together. What happens to your family and friends absolutely affects you. And yeah, we can make our own choices, but we're always making them within the lines drawn on the map that society gives us. Let's just break it down nice and simple. On one hand, you've got psychology's lifespan view. That's the internal engine, how we grow and change from the inside out. On the other hand, you've got sociology's life course view. That's the external map, the world that shapes our journey. You absolutely need both to get the full picture, but how in the world do you put them together? And that is the million-dollar question. Trying to integrate our inner engine with that outer map is a huge challenge. It requires a totally new kind of tool. And that tool, believe it or not, is the Life Course Cube. Now, this isn't some physical object you can hold. It's a really powerful way of thinking. Imagine a mental framework that's designed to help us see all the different parts of our life at the same time, and more importantly, see how they all connect and influence each other. That's the Life Course Cube. It's our key to taming all this complexity. So this cube is built on three main axes. First, you've got time, which is what connects your past, your present, and your future. The second is life domains, which shows how all the different parts of your life, like your job, your family, your health, are all tied together. And that third axis, that's the master link, levels of analysis. This connects your inner world of biology and psychology to your actions and the giant social world out there. But the real magic, where this thing comes alive, is when we see how these axes cross over. A first-order effect is simple. Your past experience affects your future job. A second-order effect is more interesting. How having a child in the family domain totally changes your career path in the work domain. But a third-order effect, that's the whole shebang. It's how your personality, your inner psychology, leads to a career change, which is a domain thing, during a specific economic recession, a historical time thing. See? This is how we analyze real life. Okay, so we've got the engine, we've got the map, and we have a cube to see how they fit together. But who's driving this car? Well, that brings us to the individual. That's you. And the motivational theory of lifespan development explains how we're the agent behind the wheel. This whole theory is built on a really brilliant idea. There are two kinds of control. Primary control is you trying to change the world to match what you want, like studying hard to pass a test. Secondary control is when you change yourself to adapt to the world, like managing your own disappointment if you don't pass. And here's the key insight. Our entire motivational system is built to maximize that primary control. Secondary control is our essential backup, the tool we use to protect our ability to keep trying to shape our world. And we chase that control through a pretty logical cycle. First, you select a SMART goal. Then, you engage with it. You put in the hours. If you hit a snag, you compensate. You find a workaround, maybe hire a tutor. And this last one is just as important. If a goal becomes impossible, you have to know when to disengage, to let it go, so you can free up that energy for something else. This cycle is what effective drivers do day in and day out. So we've hit psychology. We've hit sociology. What about biology? Well, for a long time, we were stuck in this endless nature versus nurture debate. It turns out that was the wrong question all along. The modern biosocial synthesis shows us how the social world literally gets inside our bodies and shapes our biology. The key idea here is something called embodiment, and it's wild. It's the process where your life experiences, things like chronic stress or your social status or your relationships, they don't just stay in your head, they get physically written into your biology. They change your hormones, your cells, your immune system. The outside world literally becomes part of your inside world. And how does that even happen? Well, one of the main ways is through epigenetics. This is just fascinating stuff. Your actual DNA code, the blueprint, it doesn't change, but your experiences can add these little chemical tags to your DNA that act like dimmer switches, turning certain genes up or turning them down. It's how your body biologically remembers your environment and adapts to it. All of this completely changes how we should think about health. See, it's not just about not being sick. It's about building a positive capacity over your entire life. This new perspective sees health as this integrated process where timing matters. Our biology is way more adaptable than we thought, and the ultimate goal isn't just to survive, it's to actually thrive. Okay, we have covered a ton of ground. We've got our engine, our map, the cube framework, the driver behind the wheel, and the biological hardware of the car itself. So for the final step, let's put it all together. And here it is. This is the integrated picture. The Life Course Cube is our big, organizing framework that holds everything. Inside that cube, motivational theory explains the driver. That's you making choices and chasing goals. And biosocial theory explains the hardware, the actual biological machinery that connects the social world to your body. Everything fits: the map, the engine, the driver, and the machine itself, all in one picture. So we end right back where we started, but now, hopefully with a much richer understanding. You are a product of your biology, your society, and your choices, and they are all locked in this complex dance across your entire life. So the real question this whole framework leaves us with is a personal one. Now that you have this new map, where are you going to focus your energy next to shape the road ahead?